I feel like every single benefit of mindfulness practices could be called the most important benefit of mindfulness practice, because in a way that's very subjective, right? Like, it's like, what's the most important thing to me? Not even me as opposed to you, but me right now. Like, what is the benefit that is important to me right now? And every one of my 30 benefits in 30 days and beyond, I mean, I could probably do 100 straight, but that's a little ambitious. But every one of these 30 benefits could be called the most important benefit, depending on what it is that we're going through as we're going through it. Okay, and that's the sort of point of mindfulness, right? There's a Sharon Salzberg, who's a wonderful author, teacher, psychologist, Buddhist practitioner, Buddhist teacher. She has a beautiful quote that says, "We don't practice." I mean, she says meditation, but meditation and mindfulness are essentially interchangeable. So she says, "We don't practice meditation to get better at meditation. We practice meditation to get better at life." And that's what we're talking about here with these 30 benefits, right? These are life benefits that are going to help us to manage our moment by moment, day to day experience on any level it is, right? On whatever level we want to talk about, right? It's going to help us in relationships. It's going to help us in our jobs. It's going to help us, managing our money. It's going to help our health. It's going to help our, our just, stability. Is going to help all kinds of, even one of my benefits is going to be for people with ADHD, right? There's research that shows that mindfulness practices can significantly impact people who, take ADHD medicine. Okay, so these benefits are so wide ranging. And again, each one of these could be called number one. Okay, but today on my list of 30, we're up to number 6. Okay, and so today what I want to talk about is awareness, because when we're practicing mindfulness, which again, as I said with Sharon Salzberg, it's essentially the same thing as saying when we're practicing meditation, right? It's either done in a formal setting or an informal setting. I really prefer, not prefer, but I emphasize the informal, and I'll get into why that is in another episode, another video here. But let's talk about awareness, right? When we practice mindfulness, what we are doing is we're cultivating a wider and more open awareness. Okay, that has some very, very specific qualities that I want to discuss, and why these are so important. Okay. Number one, as I say, it's an open awareness, right? It's expansive. It's curious, and it wants to take in more and more and more. And that includes externally as well as internally. Okay, and that's a very, very important distinction to make, right? Because self-awareness is, that's the very cornerstone of emotional intelligence, which is, I think, benefit number 14 or something like that on my list. But this internal self-awareness, right, is equally as important as being aware of, what is going on with other people and what is going on in other, around us. Okay, so the environmental awareness even, right? But really specifically, this awareness that we practice when we practice mindfulness is a non-judging awareness. Now, that's not to say that it's, we give up, preferences, right? It doesn't mean that we don't care that things are right or wrong, or we don't care about injustice, right? It's really more about, it's about editorializing, right? Or about not editorializing, right? We're not, as we cultivate this open, non-judging awareness, what we're doing is we're cultivating the awareness that doesn't, spend all the time and energy saying, "Oh, that's no good. I don't like that. I really don't like that either. That person's so-and-so and that person's such and such," and all this confusion that happens as we do this sort of editorializing. Instead, it's like reading a newspaper article, right? The awareness becomes the who, what, where, when, why, and how, right? And then the judgment, absent that judgment, we are free to see things more clearly and more in a more balanced way. And this, of course, leads to the really important benefit, which is on the list for sure, is empathy, right? The ability to see things as other people see them, the ability to, think through a situation the way this person's thinking through it. Now, again, this doesn't mean that we're giving up our choices. It doesn't mean that we're giving up our, control of our lives. It actually means the opposite. It means without all of that clutter in our mind that comes from all that editorializing, we are free to really see what it is that is happening. And that allows us, again, to stay present with it, because all that editorializing is really just pulling our attention away from the here and now. And the here and now, as I say in many of my videos, is where all of our resources are. So if you ever want to change something in your life, you got to be present with it first. And you have to have this open and sort of fair and balanced awareness. The other quality of this awareness that I want to make sure you understand, right, is that it's a moment by moment awareness. So many times in our lives, we have this sense of, and it's not our fault, right? Society is built to work this way, right? And on every level, right? Whether it's business, it's education, it's just the circadian rhythms, everything, right? Which is beyond society, of course. But the point that I'm making is that we have this tendency, almost all humans have a tendency to look at life as, day by day, right? We measure week by week, we measure months, we measure quarters, we measure years, we measure decades, right? Like the 80s, right, is just one big monolithic, thing in people's minds, right? Even when we get down to hour by hour or 8 hours on, 8 hours off kind of thing, even when we drill it down to the most, even if we go second by second, that still misrepresents the way life actually happens. See, everything in our lives happens now, right? Now is like this time that's sort of this time and space, if you will, that has surrounded us our whole lives. And every single thing that we've ever experienced, every thought, every emotion, every decision, every interaction, every kiss, every hug, all of it, every argument, every conflict, all of it happened right now. And so this open, non-judging, moment-by-moment awareness allows us to dwell in this beautiful and wonderful space of the here and now. That doesn't mean that everything that arises in the here and now is beautiful and wonderful, right? We're not disconnecting from life so that we're not noticing things like war and famine and conflict around the world. And it's also not ruling out the sympathetic joy that we might see in our moment-by-moment experience when we see somebody else in a state of happiness, right? It's actually, it's much less about a withdrawal, it's much more about a deeper connection to this, whatever it is that's happening now. And this gets to the point, how beneficial is this? I mean, we get to the point where going to the grocery store can be like the most magical experience. So if that's not beneficial, I guess I don't know what is. So anyway, I know this is a bit of a long video, so I apologize for that. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're watching until the end, but we'll see about that. Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow with number 7. Have a great day, everybody.